What's going on, everyone? It is the Durf, and today I'm going to be going over one of my current favorite builds for Onslaught and Onslaught Salvation. I've tested this over and over, tweaking it. I got a lot of feedback when I posted a screenshot of one of my runs of the 50 wave, which I'm going to post right here. And essentially, I want to be able to share it with you. So I had a couple of people ask me for a build link, but since it's a currently ever-changing link, and because the surges are going to change, I'm going to post the one I'm running now, and then when the surges and the champs change, I will post an edit video with everything changed up. But I like to run my builds so that modifiers such as trace rifle, sword damage, things like that become essentially kind of an afterthought. You absolutely don't need those weapons in order to get through these. And the build that I have showcases a lot of different elements kind of coming together of one. I do take advantage of a little bit of arc bonus, but other than that, it's modded to handle barriers and unstops this week, and let's just get on into it. So first off, I'm going to get into the class. Now real quick, if you do find anything helpful in this video, please like and subscribe. If you are having trouble getting through the 50 wave Onslaught mission, let me know where you're having trouble at. I'll do my best to help. This video is actually made because a couple of people did ask me for links, and rather than just give a link and say good luck, I'd rather showcase how it actually sets up and why I have what I have. So thank you for your support. Let's continue here. So as you can see, I've got the Nova Bomb Cataclysm equipped. Yes, I'm aware that Void is not the surge of the week. However, with the amount of energy you're going to be getting back here and there, it's really not going to be a situation you're going to really wish you were equipping anything else. I would typically play the surge, which would be arc and stasis. However, I don't love the stasis warlock super. It just doesn't flow, and it's not a quick hit super, which is what I genuinely prefer, with the exception of Song of Flame, but even that is situational. And then Storm Trance, it just doesn't last long enough, and it doesn't put out enough damage, in my opinion, and I also don't get it back quick enough. For abilities, you can use the whatever rift or glide that you want, or jump that you want, whichever you prefer. For the melee, I go with Arcane Needle. Now keep in mind, you are going to stack this multiple times, so you're going to have multiple Arcane Needles at your fingertips once you build it up and get into the Onslaught activity. Next up, I've got the Threadling Grenade. If you're like me and you don't have the greatest aim with throwing grenades, the Threadling Grenade pairs well here. Yes, I know you could get a little bit more damage if you threw out the Storm Grenade, or you could also, if you have problems surviving, you could throw the Healing Grenade on. However, between these two, the Cold Snap and the Storm Grenade, I like to just toss the Threadling Grenade out and let the Threadlings do the work while I continue on. Aspects here are a little bit unconventional for the build that I have, but hey, hear me out. Number one aspect I've got is Lightning Surge. While sliding, activate your charge melee ability to blink forward and call down lightning strikes that jolt targets as you materialize. Now, if you've seen any of my build videos, you know that I like to synergize as many aspects, fragments, artifact, mods, as well as armor with all things that I possibly can. So just let the Lightning Surge sit here for a minute, and I will get back to how this is going to play into your build. Feed the Void. If you're not running this, I would suggest start running this, especially in an Onslaught type activity. This is essential in getting buffs that you need, such as Devour, to get you to the add clear ability that you desperately are going to need in this. For Fragments, I'm not going to read them all, but you can read the fine print as you go. Facet of Awakening, Facet of Purpose, Facet of Honor, Facet of Sacrifice, and Facet of Balance. Facet of Balance I'm going to highlight because your primary damage is going to be light damage, and it's going to grant you more melee energy. That's going to be essential in this build. And the other one that's going to be essential, you get bonus dark transcendence energy when you get those arc solar or void buffs. Obviously with Facet of Honor, you get more transcendence energy, and I want my orb of power, which is why the Facet of Purpose is essential on here. So in this case, I'm going to be getting the overshield. In the event that you have problems surviving the onslaught, you can swap the Facet of Balance out for, which one is it? Facet of Protection here, which is when you're surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. Because I have the overshield, I don't have that equipped. But if you find yourself in a situation where you keep getting nuked, you keep getting blindsided, you keep dying more often than you think you should, that's a good one to swap out for the last fragment. And then obviously I'm taking advantage of the plus 10 to resilience, even though I don't really need it. But light or darkness damage or super final blows generates an elemental pickup. Obviously I want my energy and I want to get my powers back as fast as possible. For stat distribution, I'm aware that I overshot resilience a little bit. I'm working on that. Recovery, it's in the low 3s. I'm going to have a fix for that. Discipline, you max it out as much as you can. 9 is certainly fine. 8 is doable. 8 would probably be a minimum. I would recommend in resilience, intellect, and strength. But if you're going to prioritize a stat, resilience number 1, especially if you like the onslaught activity as much as I do, you're going to be constantly getting hammered from all kinds of angles once it gets to the later levels. And then 9 for intellect. I understand that for warlocks, you can do certain things to get your super back quicker, but I don't like running the font as much as possible. So I have this maxed out as much as possible. Right now I've got it at a 9. In other subclasses, other supers, I've got it maxed at 10. It just depends on some of the fragments, how they help or hurt you. And then strength, I understand this is at a low tier 3, but the goal of the game is to compound these arcane needles so that you don't necessarily have to worry about using one to get some tick damage done on an enemy. And that's the primary function of the arcane needle, as well as the fact that it tracks when you throw it at an enemy from distance if you're not up close. So dual functionality with that and with the lightning surge, because that operates off of your melee. For armor, I've got Nezarec Sin. I'm taking advantage of a couple of stat buffs, but as you can see, I've got the Arc Siphon and the Void Siphon. I will get to the weapons here in 1 second. For the gauntlets, I've got a minor bump to intellect, and then you also equip firepower and heavy-handed so that your melee and your grenade will generate an orb of power. Now, real quickly, I want to point out, yes, you have your arcane needle, you can hit from a distance, but this also counts as a melee. When you slide forward, you activate your charge melee and you get that jolt of lightning. So first and foremost, you're going to use a melee charge, but you're also going to jolt the target as you rematerialize. And if you're lucky enough to get an ionic trace, you'll get some ability energy back as well. So those two are essential. I've also got a reload modifier on here. Theoretically, I guess I could put a full stat increase on instead of just the +5. But as you can see, the difference in time getting your super back is 5 seconds. So you're not really going to be hurting for that as much. For the chest armor, for this, I've got solar damage resistance. I was just in an onslaught where it was mainly Cabal, so that's kind of why I had that. So really what you want to do is you want to modify your damage resistance based on the threat that you're going to see. So if you're seeing a lot of Scorn, obviously, they don't throw a lot of solar damage, although some do. So maybe Solar Void or Solar Arc. For here, I am taking advantage of the stat increase, but also more importantly, I've got an Arc reserve on, which is going to pair with my heavy weapon. For the leg armor, I've got another bump to Discipline. I also recommend Absolution and Orbs of Restoration. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, I'm a big fan for double Absolution. However, in this case, I think it's more appropriate to be running Orbs of Restoration so you can get the scavenger of your weapon choice. And now that the artifact has changed, all of your scavenger mods, with the exception of Harmonic Scavenger, are all 3 energies. So you gotta pick which one you want to sacrifice a little bit and go with that. Obviously, I have an unused energy slot, but you can see, unless I wanted to run, a little bit more in another category, there's really not going to be a benefit, at least not yet. They say it's changing, but there's not going to be a benefit if I can't get to that next 10 levels. So 30 to 40, 90 to 100, and so on and so forth. And mobility, again, doesn't really matter. For the Warlock Bond, I'm taking advantage of a stat increase there. I also recommend Reaper. If you don't use Reaper, it is definitely one of those where you can kickstart your armor charges. And in this case, that's helpful because I have Fonta Restoration. So that's going to negate my need for extra recovery ability, although I know people do like to focus on it. So if you don't need the font, obviously you can throw on something like Time Dilation if you've got a font on another piece of armor. But the other thing that I like, using the Outreach reduces melee cooldown when using your class ability. So I understand that you have some options with class abilities, and I'm just going to point this out real quick. With the aspect of Lightning Surge, you don't get any friends with you. And what I mean by that is if you run the Hellion, you get the thing that lobs lava. If you run the Weaver's Call, you get the Threadlings. And obviously, if you run Bleak Watcher, you get the option for a stasis turret. So I am doing a calculated thing here. If you don't like using Lightning Surge, you can absolutely swap this out with Weaver's Call. But as you're going to see, you're going to get a buff to mobility. You're going to get a buff to your sprint speed if you collect an Ionic Trace. And, those things are going to help you from getting from point A to point B, especially if you have down teammates, which if you've run a 50-wave Onslaught or maybe even a 10-wave Onslaught with some underpowered players, or just players that are build experimenting, which I don't recommend necessarily in an Onslaught, this will help you get back over there to give a res if you need to, or if you're the one that needs to get out of dodge, help you get back to safety and cover. So for the I'm going to go to the artifact mod real quick. I understand real quick. I know I don't have them all unlocked. I'm working on it. I just don't have endless time to play. So the key point highlights here. Anti-barrier scout rifle. I'm not a fan of scout rifles for really anything other than picking an enemy off or possibly shield breaking. So if you've got an anti-barrier scout rifle on, you can use that as kind of a backup weapon when you do see a barrier champ. Now, if the champs change and there's not going to be a barrier next week or next month or whatever, I will probably take this off and I will put on something else. Like if there is overload, I'll have probably a grenade launcher or a submachine gun in place of that. But until that happens, this is the current way it is built, which is why I wanted to share it and also put a caveat, which is why I don't include dim links with my builds, because they do change all the time when I'm testing out surges and stuff. And if you see my build videos, you know how thorough I am. So I don't want to do anyone a disservice by giving a link and then, them going to it and possibly getting it changed. As far as the rest of it, Unstoppable Pulse Rifle, that's kind of a non-negotiable when there's not really anything else out there to help you with that, unless you take advantage of like a weaken or like a frozen situation with stasis. I don't like stasis as a primary powerhouse class. I take advantage of some of the things with stasis, but I'd rather just equip a pulse rifle. It fires fast enough. You can get through your ads, and then you don't really have to worry about it in the future. As far as the other mods that I have Trace Evidence. I have Rapid Precision Hits or Rapid Final Blows on targets affected by stasis. Targets affected by Jolt or Blind will generate Ionic Traces. Now, if you're looking at the arc piece to the build here, which is the Lightning Surge, you're going to jolt your target. So you're going to take advantage of this right here. Plus, you might get an Ionic Trace. And if you have the boost active from the tonic, you'll get an armor charge on top of that. So yet another way that that's going to synergize. Because I am running Graviton in my energy slot, we're going to take advantage of weakened combatants, grant you Devour, and you can boost that with the tonic for rapidly defeating them, spawns a Void Breach, which gives you some energy back. As far as the rest, I have this equipped because I have other classes that take advantage of the Dark Ether Reaper, but obviously deal increased weapon damage to Scorn. And if someone is running, stasis in your fire team, you have the option to possibly pick up on these two artifact mods. Now, moving forward, I'm probably going to equip Supernova and possibly Severed Cold or Conductive Cosmic. It just really depends on how the surges change. So, as far as the weapons go, I run Fang of Yut. I alter between this and Live Fire. Live Fire, of course, okay. Caveat to that, I see that I have 0 enemies defeated. I was using another one, and then I got a better roll. So Rapid Hit Headstone, I just got this roll in my last Onslaught. I was using a totally different one without Headstone, and I didn't like it. So Live Fire and Fang, I'll be switching between those two. Yes, I understand. I have 0 enemies defeated. I was using a non-crafted version, and I wanted to level it up to kind of show you. I prefer the 260 rounds per minute with a 94 recoil, because I can put on Precision Instrument and Rapid Hit and Curse Thrall. If you've never used a Crota weapon, this is amazing. But if you don't have that, farm for a good live fire. Rapid Hit and Headstone are great. Field tested, works well, and then just throw a counterbalance on it. Fire's slow enough, you're not going to care about the kick, but it has good enough range that you can pick off barriers, at least whittle them down from a decent amount of range. I just like this one better. Your main add clear weapon is going to be Graviton. Obviously, you get the Vorpal buffs, so when you're seeing champs or tankier enemies, it's going to help you. It also, any Void kill is going to boost your ability regen with Nezarek's Sin here. Void kills increase ability regen, energy recharge rate. So that's the build. As far as the Ghost mod, you can mod it however you want. I want some more cores, so I've got that. Easy way to farm for high resilient armor is to put the armor mod on. You can focus engrams still at vendors, or any of your random armor drops have a chance to drop with a high resilience stack, and they're more likely to. And then obviously I've got the combo detector. That doesn't really matter for Onslaught, but if you're trying to level up quick, I would recommend putting on Blinding Light. So that is the build. I'm going to post some video clips and highlights of using this class at the end of when I'm done talking here. So hopefully you guys can kind of see the synergies of everything. Also, because of the Arc Siphon, I'm banking that there's going to be heavier gobs of enemies on in an Onslaught mode. I probably wouldn't put Arc Siphon on if I was just running a regular strike, because I typically don't use this for ad clear, but in this particular activity, they do tend to group up. And if you have a Crux Termination with Reconstruction and Bipod, it is awesome. And I'm just realizing now that I have Counterbalance stock, and I don't know why I have that, so I'm going to switch that out for Blast Radius and Velocity, because it doesn't matter. Impact Casing is what you want. Quick Launch is what you want. You want to get that velo as high as possible. Reconstruction is awesome. Bipod, you get 4 rounds in a magazine, so being able to rapid fire, at least in terms of a rocket launcher, 4 rounds in a row. When you get to that boss and the ads are just everywhere and you need to clear some space, jump up in the air and fire a couple of rounds of these off, and then continue going back to clearing ads and building up your super to drop on the boss. So hopefully this video helped you. I know it was kind of quicker than normal, but I'm going to add some clips of gameplay here once I get done talking. If you did find anything helpful in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Leave me some feedback. Let me know what kind of stuff you're running that you enjoy that maybe isn't the current meta. Obviously, everyone wants to make stasis meta, but I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I'm not really missing out on the 25% buff to all the different damages that I could be running in place because I get to be able to move faster. So thank you guys for your support. Stay tuned next week once the surges and whatever else change. I'll be making a build video based on that, which will probably be different than this. And like I said, leave me some feedback. Share this with someone who maybe if they play Warlock or if they're just looking for some ideas of how to play on their favorite character. I can do a Hunter version of this or possibly a Titan, depending if I get some feedback saying that you want me to do that. Or, if someone's looking for a quick change, hey, I recommend Warlock, and this is how I would try to model it after, your style of play. So thanks again, guys. Take care, and I will see you next time. Enjoy the video clips. And like I said, make sure to like and subscribe so you can see my build videos as they come out and get notified right away. Take care. So as you can see, guys, this is just a quick build test. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm getting my abilities buffed as much as possible before I start spamming them. So once you're comfortable with this build, which I recommend going to Sorrow's Harbor for, you absolutely can use weapons and or abilities in like a 50-50 type of rotating manner. And as you can see, using the charge melee with the lightning surge, you can jolt enemies quickly, stunning them, and then use your heavy to get rid of majors. And you can see I've already got my super regenerated. Obviously I don't need to use it, but I'm doing it because any void kill that includes your super will give you ability energy back. And if you look in the lower left hand corner, you can see that I've got multiple stacks of the arcane needle, and that's going to be what fuels my arc aspect of this build. But get your buffs going. You see, pretty much since I started this, I've had buffs going like crazy, and I'm not short of really any energy. And like I said earlier, if you have problems aiming your grenade, like you just saw me there, that's what the threadlings are for. You get that tracking damage, and you can go back. Of course, this guy I'm not getting any help on, which is real nice. I'm not sure if there's nobody in here or it's just me. Either way, you get an idea of kind of what you're up against. And because you've got a rocket launcher, you've got a quick chunk damage. And here we go. I've got another super. So this is kind of how it goes. This is kind of a chunky type demonstration. But as you can see right there, I just took out that yellow bar with the arc aspect, and I'm just getting my ability energy back as fast as possible. So everyone is a little bit different in how they play, but you're going to be getting those ability buffs pretty regularly, which is going to, and see, because I've got amplified, I've got the ability to get all of these higher enemies stunned. Now in this instance, this is just kind of a free-for-all, so I understand that my teammates are not moving at the same pace that I am. However, when you're in a activity where you are match made and you do have the ability to complement those that are around you, it really helps everyone. So if nothing else, you become a better teammate and just make yourself more unkillable, quite honestly. So as you can see here, we got some ability energy built up, and now I am using that in hand with using the graviton to get my ability energy back, as well as spamming abilities, keeping buffs active. You look at my left-hand screen, I've got 4. I've actually got more, but they run out of space to show them all. But I'm getting my orbs of power, I'm getting my melee back, I'm getting my grenade back, I'm jolting targets, and it's making getting through the chunkier enemies better. And once you get a few graviton kills, you get your energy charging up real good, then it's time to come up, spam the melee, maybe throw down a rocket just to inflict some jolts. However you want to do it. There's really, the build is pretty forgiving as far as you know, what you could be doing, when you can be doing it. The main thing is have kind of a cycle of how you do things. That's going to make this build way more toxic to all the enemies that you're going to encounter. So in this case, I'm just going to throw my super down. I understand that I don't need to be throwing the super down at this point, but what I'm doing, I'm kind of trying to rock all of the worlds in one quick little hit video, so to speak. So obviously once you're in an onslaught, you're going to have more consistent enemies. You're going to be able to see, I've got I'm amplified, and as a result I'm pulling jolt down every time I run the lightning strike there. But you know, it's just one of those things. It's fun. It's fun to be able to run void. It's fun to be able to throw out some threadlings, and you can see kind of how this is all coming together. The next video I'm going to show here, next clip, I'm going to be running the onslaught activity so you can see in real action where there's surges and more distinct champs and all those things. So as you can see, I'm running the onslaught activity now. The intro to the mission, you don't want to use any abilities if you don't have to. Just kill the enemies with your graviton. Get your energies up, and let that be a way to continue on through. The intro doesn't matter, just use graviton to start the ability regen, and then use the first wave or so to max it out as much as possible so that you can start cycling through all of your abilities. So first ability I'm going to use is the arc ability. That's going to give me some jolts, going to get me amplified. And as you can see, I've got my super already regenerated. Now that I've got my super regenerated, there's some tankier enemies going. I'm going to use that super energy. Again, this is just how I play. You can play however you want. But come up to a guy of the enemies, roast them, and do it again if you want. And you're going to get amplified, you're going to get devour. As you can see, the buffs on the left hand side of the screen are just going nuts right now. So that's what you want. You want to be able to spam your abilities and then use graviton to get your heavy ammo back, and use graviton to help get your super back. So obviously on chunkier enemies, you're going to want to bust out maybe an ability and or your heavy weapon, but you're going to get heavy ammo crates that spawn here occasionally. So if you do find yourself not generating them enough, that's okay. But just know that there's other options to help you. So I'm taking advantage of all the buffs that I possibly can, and My fallback to getting my ability energy regenerated is collecting all the energy elements that I possibly can. I've got ionic traces coming to me. That's what's making me amplified. I've got Devour. I've got Void Breaches. They're all coming in together. So that's the key to being well versed. Think of it like a stock portfolio. You want to be diversified. You want to be able to attack enemies in a number of different ways depending on the type of enemy that's in front of you. Obviously, chunkier enemies, you want to try to use maybe an ability. I've got my super built up again, so it's just one of those things. You do the best that you can. Alright, whether or not you have noticed, well, you should notice now because you're looking right at it, but I do have a teammate that's using stasis, so there's going to be situations where I'm going to hopefully be able to take advantage of some stasis buffs, but they're going to be pretty well covered up by the fact that I'm using Void as well as oh, we got a guy over here, as well as strand and the arc buffs. And because I've got stacks of my melee, you are going to see regularly that they are interchangeable with your... See, here we go. We got chunkier enemies. My teammates did help me out here, but you're not always going to have that, you know? So you use your abilities, get kind of a semi game plan of how you're doing what you're doing. Obviously, you can use them however you want. You don't want to completely run out of all of them. Although I guess there's going to be times where that probably is unavoidable. It just depends on how hairy it gets. But you can shoot comfortably with your graviton, and I haven't come across a barrier yet. I'm kind of waiting. There we go. So you bust out your scout rifle. And someone already was using the same aspect that I was, but they were able to kill the barrier. And it's just that simple. It also works really good when you come down into the caverns here, because if you're in a fire team where maybe you don't have someone that's as aggressive as you can hang back without compromising your ability to survive. Now, obviously I have more of an aggressive play style. If that's not how you play, that's fine. This build gives you the flexibility to kind of do whatever you need to do, however you need to do it. And you also look cool doing it, and quite honestly. Okay, my teammates reviving. Great. So wave 6, enemies are going to be getting a little bit harder now. It's important to have kind of a system set up at this point so you can have the abilities that you need when you need them. Now obviously I wasted my grenades earlier, so I'm a little low on those. But on the lower enemies, just use Graviton, get that energy back. You can see I've got full Transcendence energy, and I'm not sure how that guy got past me. But I'm not hurting for any ability. So, and that's going to be huge once you get into later levels. Obviously, because I'm just doing a 10 wave, it's not absolutely imperative that I have every ability the entire time, but it helps. We got a tankier enemy here. I'm going to throw down my Nova Bomb. And then just using Graviton, using a little bit of distance. Got a bunch of orbs of power just spawning like crazy. And you can see I'm amplified. I got the Void Overshield. I've got Devour. I'm not really hurting for anything specifically as far as buffs go. But all you're doing by cycling through these abilities is you're generating orbs of power that you can take advantage of, that your armor can take advantage of, and then in some cases your teammates can take advantage of. And that's what it's all about, being the teammate that, you know, can kind of do it all, for lack of a better way to put it. So now here we go, on the way to the boss room. This is where the magic happens. What I like to do right away is I like to throw my grenade down and also use a couple of rockets and get the juices flowing, so to speak. Clear out some ads. You see the boss man is right over there. And I'm going to light him up really quick. Only airmailed one rocket, so that's good. And make sure you're using your abilities. Cycle through them, because you're going to be generating orbs of power. You're going to be generating, you know, help for your teammates. I just airmailed that. That's okay. And here we go. I'm going to keep some transcendence. And I'm going to use the debuff to get a little hair here. But you get the gist of it. You know, running around, being the best you can as far as ability spam, and also being realistic about your survivability. You can see even with the tier 3 recovery, I had no problem surviving, and that was one of the best boss battles. I did have another aggressive player with me. There's a lot of players you'll play with that won't be as aggressive as you, or maybe you're one of those players that likes to pick people off from a distance. That's perfectly fine too. This build will work for you in many different ways, many different play styles, especially if you're not an aggressive type. But if you are, you're going to have some fun. So thanks for checking me out. I appreciate all the support. Hopefully this helps you. And, you know, if there is something that you want to see, you know, a build video or, you know, a different class altogether, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're running and what your feedback is. All things Revenant here in Destiny 2. Take care. Oh, and here we go. 215, 55 orbs. You're generating a lot of help for your teammates. So that help can go, you know, into elements. It can go into super. It can go into getting people's health back. Creating as many orbs as possible helps everyone around you. So there's the proof on the pudding. Take care.